Hey guys, it's Jake, aka Cryosian. Welcome to another episode of Cryonaut TV. Today is all about sidechain compression, how it works, when to use it, and some examples coming right after this. If you're a music producer as well, looking for tips, tricks, and tutorials, hit that subscribe button down there so you don't miss a thing. I have videos coming out on a regular basis going over things from sound design, how to arrange your tracks and mixing, things like that, and even going over plugins, so make sure you tune in regularly. Again, today's topic is sidechain compression, so we're going to get into that right now, and I'm going to show you just a little bit of how it works, and I have a nice little demo clip set up right here. And this is what it sounds like without any effects and no processing at all. So it sounds okay. It's pretty boring. You know, I did make it in just about a minute, so not a big deal there. But, you know, the chords in the background are just playing constantly. There's no change whatsoever. It's really boring. The kick and the bass are kind of both playing at the low end. It could use a lot of work. You know, it's not terrible right now, but it could be a lot better. So the first thing we're going to do is add a sidechain compressor to the synth here, the chord sounds. So that's this sound right here. That's going to create a pumping sound, so the sound kind of drops out and comes back in. You've heard this a lot in all the main EDM songs out there. That pumping kind of sound is really a popular sound. It's very rhythmic. It gives movement and motion to your sounds instead of having them just be a static chord like in this case. So to do that, we're going to come over here to our effects, click on the compressor, and drag that onto the channel. And now at first glance, you're going to say, well, how do I do sidechain compression? This just looks like a normal compressor. Well, you're right, but if you open this up with the little expanding thing, there's your sidechain right there. So there's two different ways you can use the sidechain compressor on this channel. You can have it be take the input from your kick and use that to compress your sound. That will work just fine. There's no issue there. But if you ever wanted to have your kick drop out for something, but you still want that pumping sound, you're kind of out of luck. That's why I always use this sidechain channel here. This lets you have a lot more control over your sidechain and be able to do different rhythms whenever you want or have things going when your kick drops out. It just gives you complete control. So basically, I just put a little simpler on here. I put another sample like of a wood block or something. Really, the only thing is you want something that starts immediately and is pretty short, because while this sound is playing, it's going to trigger your sidechain compressor to stop. So you want it to be a really short, aggressive sound like a wood block. So this is the sound that I have. I've made it just all 4 on the floor beats right there. Just for this example, it's easier to tell that way. But you can see it's a really short sample. So now we come back over here. So instead of the kick, we're going to pick our sidechain channel, which is just the name right there. You have to make sure this channel is playing, but you can turn off the audio so that no audio is output from there. But it will still affect your sidechain. So if we solo this channel and play it, I'll adjust this so you can hear this, the sidechain actually start to come into play. So the amount is totally up to you. If you want it to go completely silent and then come back up, that's fine. If you want it to just duck a little bit, that's fine too. But you can look at the gain reduction here and see how much is actually going. You're not usually going to want to bring this threshold down all the way to 0 or infinite. That's going to have a very aggressive impact on your actual sound, and you don't usually want that much. You can, that's fine. But most of the time you're going to want to have it up a little bit and somewhere in the middle. For this example, we're going to keep it all the way down so you can hear the maximum impact that this actually has. The next important thing is going to be your attack and release. The attack you want to have fairly quickly normally, but you can play with that and see what you want. The main thing I like to focus on is the release. So basically, your sound is playing. When the sidechain trigger, in this case our little wood block, when that hits, it brings the sound down to whatever level you have picked down here. The release is how long it takes for that sound to go down from the bottom back up to its original level. Now, if you have a pattern going with the sidechain, it may mess with that a little bit. But normally if you have the 4 on the floor kind of beat, you want to have that sound drop down, and then right when it's coming back to the original level, that's when that trigger hits again, so then it comes back down. That's what gives it the nice fluid motion of up and down. So it definitely takes some playing with, and there's no easy way to pick an exact measurement. You just kind of have to play it by ear. So for now, we're going to keep it soloed. I'm going to play with this and see if we can get something going here. All right, so you can see and hear that right when it comes back up, it's almost getting to the top, and that's when it kicks in again. Just like with everything with mixing, you don't want to do it all in solo, so we're going to take this off and play the whole song together and make sure this still sounds good. That's not too bad. So there's the first way you can use sidechain compression. The next one is going to be to make your kick and your bass kind of fit together a little bit better, especially if you have them hitting both on the same beat. So in this case, I have it hitting on the 1, hitting on the 2, hitting on the 3, hitting on the 4, just like my kick is hitting on every single beat. So typically your kick is going to be on the lower frequencies, your bass is going to be on the lower frequencies. So if they both hit at the same time, they're both kind of fighting for the same frequency range most of the time. Sometimes you can EQ things out, but sidechain compression is a really good way to help alleviate some of that difficulty. So in this case, we're going to go onto our bass channel. We're going to add a compressor. We're going to expand it, put on sidechain, and we're going to do the same thing. But this time, we're probably not going to bring the threshold down to 0. We want to hear the bass. We just don't want it to be at its full volume. We're going to duck it a little bit and then bring it back up. So there you can see it's ducking a little bit. It doesn't sound too much different, but it's definitely noticeable when it's by itself. When we add in a kick and everything else, you're going to hear that the kick is going to sound a little bit louder because it's not fighting for the same frequencies as the bass. So now we have a nice balance for the kick and the bass. You don't really hear much of a difference, but it allows a lot more room for everything to kind of fill the space. And it just makes everything seem clearer, makes it seem louder. It's a much better mix that way. So one last thing I wanted to show is how you can use something like the LFO tool to also do the same thing as a sidechain compressor. If you're using a different DAW and you don't have this little sidechain capability, or you don't want to use this compressor, you want to use a different one, that's fine. You can still do the same thing with the LFO tool. So the first thing we're going to do is change the shape. We're going to change it to a saw up. That's pretty much all we have to do, actually, because right now it's adjusting the volume 100%. That's what this means. So it's going to drop the volume down to 0, bring it back up to 100. And this is actually a little bit easier to deal with sometimes because you can choose the rate on how quickly it goes back up. Instead of dealing with these release times in milliseconds and all that, you can just do this and it's much easier. So by default, all I did was change the shape. And that's what we got. So this is a super easy way to do the same exact thing. If you want, you can also adjust this a little bit. You know, you can maybe, if you want to keep it down a little bit and then come up, or wait a little bit longer, you can do that. If you wanted to change the rate, so it's going at, let's say, 1/8, you can do that. And what this actually does is you don't even need this whole channel anymore. So we can stop that from playing. We don't even need that because this is now the trigger in and of itself. If you want to go a little slower. Again, a really cool tool that's really easy to use. Just a different thing if you wanted to do it. So LFO Tool by Xfer Records. So those are the two main ways you can use sidechain compression in your music to get the pumping sound in like your chords or backing tracks, and to have your bass and your kick have a better fit together, and to allow your kick to really stand out and be much clearer in your mix. Hopefully that helps you guys out. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, go ahead and subscribe, and I'll have more videos out for you soon. And leave a like, and let me know what you think of the video. Again, I'm Jake, aka Cryogen, and I'll see you guys next time.